Hello firearms friends, Joel Colander here for Rock Island Auction Company, and I have in front of me just 5 picks of US military arms in our up and coming June 21st, 22nd, 23rd Sporting Collector Firearms Auction. Some classics, something a little bit above and beyond, something cool you might not know about or that might not get the attention that it always deserves. So let's dive right in, starting close to me, Johnson rifle. Everybody talks about the Garand, and well, they should as a standard issue service rifle. But if you were a Marine in the Pacific Theater, boy, there wasn't much of a replacement for the Johnson. Of course, big rotary mag, 30-06, semi-automatic action, heat shield up front, looking tough, great looking wood. And of course, as part of the Johnson story, the spike bayonet, this traditional 1905 bayonet, of course, caused issues with that reciprocating barrel and action, so it caused a little malfunction. So they had to design a special spike bayonet for the Johnson, which this one has, as well as its scabbard. So you want to expand your collection maybe beyond the 1903, beyond the Garand? Here's a Johnson, and this Johnson looks pretty good. Next, a Garand, but a Garand of a different color. Here we have, as you can see with the scope, a Garand sniper rifle. This is M1C, and it's not just any M1C, and we'll get into that. So during World War II, they couldn't decide between an M1C and an M1D, the main difference being M1C had a scope mount designed basically by Griffin and Howe, and how to attach that to the firearm, and the M1D had one designed by Mr. Garand himself. And during World War II, there was a little bit back and forth after World War II. Of course, the M1D is adopted, a little bit simpler, and of course it was designed by Mr. Garand, so he kind of knew how things worked. But this M1C is one that was designed after World War II, and you might think that's a detriment to it. It's actually not. This is one of about 4,800 that were produced post-World War II. But it still has, from parts that were designed from the M1C, or they're cut for the M1C. So this still has the holes cut for the Griffin and Howe mounts. We have Griffin and Howe mounts. We have an M84 scope, which you might think, oh, I want an earlier scope on a Garand sniper rifle, so it's from World War II. No, you don't. Not on this M1C and this serial number range, these 4,100 that are produced post-World War II. An M84 is very appropriate for this, as is the flash hider, as is the serial number range, that off-centered scope, because of course these had to be loaded straight from the top, unlike our bolt action friends. So it's just a real classic. And if you have a Garands already and you like your Garand collection, here's a real nice way to make an addition. And again, with that limited number of post-World War II production M1Cs, that's a pretty nice example to find in a sporting and collector firearms auction. And now we move on to the handguns. Oh, where to start? Let's start over here. Here's an unsung hero of Colt military sidearms, or of all military sidearms. This is a Colt model 1909 double action. This is a stopgap measure for US military sidearms. It is a 45. It is the last 45 long Colt that was a standard service arm for the United States. It's also, I believe, the shortest lived, if not the shortest lived. And it's, of course, the stopgap that was, because of the story we all know, the Philippines and 38 caliber cartridges, and they weren't doing well against the Moro warriors. So we need something with more oomph. Well, what do we have? Well, we got some 45s. Here we go. 45 double action. That same flat gate or flat lever here that you see on some of the earlier predecessors, 1903s, back to 1892s for Pete's sake, and some of those earliest double actions. So fantastic. This one's been refinished, as you would expect. These were issued to the Navy, and then a certain number went to the Marine Corps as well. Psst, this is one of the Marine Corps ones. That's about 1,300 to 1,400 that the Marine Corps purchased from the Navy of the 1909. So not only kind of a lesser known part of the development of 45 ACP in the 1911 and of US military sidearms, but a neat revolver, the last one issued in 45 long Colt. And when you get one that's issued to the Marines, that's wonderful. And it's Marines, by the way. We have a rounded butt, we have our lanyard loop. That's just a fun example of kind of a lesser known US military revolver that you could add to your collection. Next on the list, it's a classic. It wouldn't be a US military video without the brainchild of Mr. John Moses Browning, a 1911, and I do mean just the 1911, not an A1. You see our flat mainspring housing back here. We have our smooth, longer trigger. This is just fantastic. Of course, Walter Penfield inspection mark here back by the trigger. So an early 1911 in every detail. In fact, it's earlier than you'd expect. We have a serial number back here of 16698. That makes this a 1911 that was actually manufactured in 1912. And it's in a sporting and collector auction. Now there's some people like their guns really pretty, and some people like them refinished and to look as those are. This has some honest wear to it, but still a lot of great bluing on here. Checker to the grips. It's a good looking gun, and so if you want to produce 1911 that looks like it's been there and still has some condition to it, great option. And if you're already a 1911 collector, boy, to talk to you have a second year production 1911, you got some bragging rights in your collection as well. And last but not least, it's one of my favorites, so I had to include it, a Colt 1902. Oh, it's a bucket lister for me. Now this is a 1902 military, and how do we know? Well, the military wanted a big square butt on there for military guys with larger hands. They also wanted a little space to put that lanyard on the bottom. I love them for their place in Colt semi-automatic history. They're the last one in 38. If you kind of don't include like the 1903 pocket hammer and pocket hammerless, the 1903 pocket hammer, of course, is basically a smaller version of our 1902 barrel wedge, but it's also the last one in 38 is what I was getting to. Once we see that 1905 and the model 1907, boy, that's where those 45 ACP models start coming in. So the 1902 is a neat, it's a slight adaptation from the 1900 in the sight safety, and there is no sight safeties. Some collectors consider those so close they're almost synonymous, or that a 1902 is just a 1900 that's not fitted for a sight safety. You can also tell it's a slightly later model 1902 because of the spur hammer. The first one still had those kind of nubbed hammers on the back, and the military didn't like that. They wanted something with a little more tooth on the hammer, and so Colt wanting a contract, they got that. This one is refinished. I don't mind it at all. It looks really good. The niter blue is on the trigger, on our slide stop, on our pins, even on our rear sight and our wedge up front. It's really attractive. I would not mind having this 1902 at all. I hope you can agree with some of these selections that these are some pretty nice choices for a U.S. military collection, maybe your collection. If you think you better one, why don't you leave in the comments below? I'd love to hear it. Until tomorrow's video, we'll show you a new selection. Until then, until next time, firearms friends, keep your powder dry.